farm. This workshop is, we're really excited about Lose Your Lawn. I think one of the most important questions today is, how do you get rid of your lawn to put in a fruit garden? It's sort of this, it's a mystery for many of us. So we're really lucky to have Karen Contreras to speak to us, who's a wonderful woman in the community who's actually helping people to install gardens in where there was once a lawn. Just your background. Come on in, and also if you can fill out the surveys on those little green cards, gives us an idea of how you're liking the workshop. Karen was a farmer in Oregon for many years, and so she has a wonderful and long experience of knowing how to grow food. And then for a while she was selling junk mail and making a lot of money doing that. And then she decided she wanted to do something that was, for her, more meaningful. And I think it's really interesting because it kind of connects her back to her roots as a farmer. And so now she has her own business called Urban Plantations. And she's, I think, the first person in San Diego to do this work, to help people to develop food gardens, edible landscapes, drought resistant, all sorts of different models of gardening. And so we're really lucky to have her here. And so if you can help me welcome Karen Contreras and Kara Morgan. Kara Morgan.
Thanks, Julia, and thanks for asking me to come here. I'm not a public speaker, so I've made some notes, and I'll try not to read because I know that's really boring. I am a farmer, a mother, a business owner, and a gardener. So I've tried to turn all those things into my passion, Urban Plantations, which we started 2 years ago. And as Julia said, I was a farmer in Oregon, and I moved back to the city with my 2 kids, and wasn't a lot of jobs for urban farmers at that time, and so I got into sales and I sold junk mail, which was really a bad karma job, but it paid the bills. And a couple of years ago, I've always had gardens in my yard, and a couple of years ago I had a gal come over and ask what a zucchini plant was in my garden, and I realized that a lot of people who enjoy eating fresh food don't know the first thing about growing it. So that's how our business started. But getting back to taking your lawn out, the first thing we did when we moved to San Diego is we had this hideous lawn, and I had to argue with my husband, who for some reason enjoyed the Sunday ritual of mowing the lawn. So we compromised, and I said, okay, keep the lawn, but you got to get a push mower, because I don't want to hear and smell a gas lawnmower. So after about 6 months of the push mower, he finally said on Sunday, I'd rather go for a bike ride, do whatever you want with the lawn. So we decided to take out the lawn. And let me start also by saying that gardening is kind of like baking. Everybody has their own recipe, their own way of making things, and what you're going to hear from me today is my experience. It's not out of a book, it's what I've learned, and it's what works for me. But everybody has their own set of circumstances, their own soils, their own microclimates, and all that. So at the end we'll open it up for questions, and maybe I can help you with some of your, certain situations. First, a few fun facts about grass. There's almost 28 million acres of turf grass in the United States. 28 million acres of grass. 21 million acres are in home lawns. About 80% of all U.S. households have private lawns. And the average American lawn is 1/3 of an acre. Now, obviously, not everybody has 1/3 of an acre of grass, but a lot of people do. In San Diego, we use 60% of our drinking water for landscape needs. 60% of our water. It takes 45 gallons of water per square foot of lawn per year to water our grass in San Diego. I'm going to repeat that because it's amazing. 45 gallons of water per square foot of lawn per year. Vegetable gardens can help reduce our water, usage by 35 to 65%. So, the American history of lawn is traced back to England, where estate owners demonstrated their wealth by not growing food. So they told all their folks in the city that we don't need to grow anything, we've got it all, here's our great, fantastic lawn. And we're not in that situation anymore, so let's get to it, let's get our lawns out. The first thing to start with when you're taking your lawn out is to identify what kind of grass you have. So here's some bags of grass. I'm going to pass these around because there's different approaches to different types of grass. This grass, first grass we'll pass around is it's a sod. And you can see from this it's got pretty shallow matted roots, okay? All about the same height, and takes a lot of water. But this is what, when you go to buy marathon sod, whatever, it's this. So I'll pass it to you. You pass that around, take a really good look at it, because the first thing you have to do is identify what you've got in your yard. This is Bermuda grass. This is what most of us have growing in our lawn. It's a real low water lawn, goes dormant in the summer. But this grass is not a nice root mat like that. It's segmented. And when you pass this around, look at these little segments here, because when you take this out, if you don't get every one of these segments, each piece will start a new piece of grass. So this grass we dig out. I'm going to pass this around. Take a great look at that too. So we'll start with the sod, grass that is going that way. And it's called fescue. You can use, for removing that lawn, you can use a mechanized sod cutter, which we don't use in our business because it takes the top couple of inches of your topsoil off as well. And that goes to the landfill, and it's a waste. The most productive part of your soil is going to be the top 4 to 6 inches. So scraping it off with a sod cutter, and it's easy, but you get rid of the best part of your soil. Hand cutting works well. We've actually cut it with shovels and rolled it up and given it to somebody who wanted it. But the best way, in my opinion, is sheet mulching. And by sheet mulching, what you're doing is you're turning all that green matter into organic matter that goes right into your soil. It's not an immediate fix, but it is practically immediate. Kara just did her lawn, and I think you planted in February, and she's growing huge tomatoes in it right now.
Nice.
What's the process called again?
It's called sheet mulching, or it's a lasagna method. That's you can find a lot about it on the internet, and if you do look, again, everybody's got their own recipe. Some of them are really elaborate, and some of them are real simple. So we'll kind of talk about an in-between one. What you do is you go in and you cut your grass really short. If you've got the sod, cut it short, leave the grass clippings down on it, and you put a fine layer of like chicken manure. And you can use the hot stuff. You don't have to use anything composted. And then, what else? Sorry, like I said, I'm not a speaker. And you can cover it with amendments. Like I said, each soil has a different quality to it, so if you're lacking in something, a lot of people will put gypsum down, or you can put any of your fertilizers if you choose to. Real thin layer. Then you layer it with newspaper, several layers of newspaper or cardboard, and you overlap it. And now you want to keep it wet, because as you're putting this newspaper down, if there's a breeze, you've got newspapers going all over the place, so be sure you water it as you go. And then you'll put down some more compost or manure on top of that, and water it again. On top of the newspaper with your little bit of compost and manure, you're going to put about 8 to 10 inches of organic material. Straw works great. When you buy straw, though, be sure you ask for anyway, the seedless variety. It's a post-harvest straw, and that way you won't get a whole lot of seeds, because what you're going to do is have this big layer of of straw on your front lawn, and when you